Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name's Stephen Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Tuesday?
I'm ready to roll. We got some good stuff to talk about. The NBA season is starting now. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, no, it's been a while since we saw two NBA teams match up in a game that matters. The preseason's been going on for a little while. It'll be Celtics Knicks to open up the night, and then Timberwolves Lakers after that game. We're gonna actually start with that topic, so let's break it down right now. The Celtics are hosting the New York Knicks in the first game of the 2024-2025 NBA season. The Celtics won their 16th, or was it? What championship was that? 17, 18, 19? 18th championship, which is crazy. It's been a very, very long time.
18 championships. 16
years? Was that it? 16 years since their last championship. Meanwhile, the Knicks have a new revamped roster that they are going to be displaying for a game, once again, that actually matters in the regular season. It's going to be a battle that I thought would have been a great, absolutely great Eastern Conference Finals series last year, but the Knicks got all banged up and couldn't stay healthy and move past the Pacers. So we're going to get to see another preview of what could be an Eastern Conference Finals matchup later on this season. I want to know, though, who do you think will start their season off 1-0? The New York Knicks, or can the Boston Celtics take care of them just like they did last year 4 out of 5 times?
I got the Celtics. I have the Celtics tonight. Actually, the Knicks and the Celtics played the first game last year, and the Celtics won 108-104. But the Knicks are a very different team this year than they were last year in the first game. They're a new-look team, and I think it's going to take them a little while to gel. The Celtics spread the floor. You know, they have 5 dangerous shooters. Horford, Tatum, Brown, Holiday, and White. They can all shoot the 3. Holiday and White are elite defenders. Second team all defensive players. Tatum and Brown are elite offensive players and just elite overall. They're top NBA players for sure. Horford, it's amazing. The guy is amazing. I mean, he's getting close to 40 years old, right?
Yeah.
And he's out there because Porzingis is still hurt. He won't be back until late in December. So, you know, that's interesting. It's too bad Porzingis is not in there. The guy, he just can't stay healthy. It's a problem. So hopefully he can get healthy and be back before the end of the year, because it's going to be a little tougher on Horford. But I think the Celtics have depth to help Horford with Cornette. He's still with them, and he played reasonably well in a backup role last year. So I see the Knicks starting 5 tonight would be Brunson, Bridges, Hart, Anunoby, and Towns. Towns is brand new. They just traded for him. I can't believe that he knows all of their offense and how it works, and the rivalry between the Celtics and the Knicks. It's all brand new for him. Bridges, on the other hand, in the Eastern Division, played against the Celtics and the Knicks a lot, so he knows them well. But has he gelled with with Brunson and the rest of the team? I'm not so sure. The Celtics, on the other hand, I mentioned their starting five, elite in my mind, except maybe for Horford, but he's probably not the starter. I mean, it's going to be Porzingis when he gets back. The matchups, I like Brunson. I don't know. Do you think Brunson will verse Holiday or White? Who do you think they'll put on?
Probably Holiday.
Brunson? Holiday. Then I give the advantage to Brunson a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, I think Brunson. He's an elite player, and he finds a way to penetrate and get an open shot or dish. And I think he handles the ball every time up the court for the Knicks. I think sometimes he dribbles a little too much, but I think he'll have a little bit of an advantage over Holiday. Bridges, on the other hand, I think White has the advantage there, being an elite defender. Bridges with a brand new team. I think it's going to take a little time for him to gel. Hart versus Brown, easily Brown has the advantage there. Anunoby versus Tatum, even though Anunoby is an elite defender, I still give the advantage to Tatum. Towns versus Horford, I got the advantage to Towns. So 3 out of the 5, I say the Celtics have the advantage. On the depth, I think that could be a problem for the Knicks this year, right? McBride, Achua, and Payne. That's about it until Robinson gets back from his injury. On the Celtics side, looks pretty good to me. Pritchard, Hauser, and Cornette. All players that played very well last year and know the system well and fit right in there.
Well, I think the one big thing is their depth already got killed. You mentioned Achua. He's going to be out. He's going to get reevaluated in 2 to 4 weeks with a strained hamstring. So they're all that short depth, and that actually I thought was a massive issue, or at least could be a massive issue, is the lack of depth from the Knicks. Because last year, we remember Mitch Robinson was already down, Julius Randle was down in the playoffs, and they were left really with no big man. It was Hartenstein and Achua. That was basically it. And also coming off the bench, you were left with Miles McBride to be your primary scorer. That's going to be an issue. So for me, it'll be really a battle of the depth because there'll be stars all over the place. You mentioned the starters for the Knicks: Brunson, Bridges, Hart, Anunoby, Towns. For the Celtics, it's Holiday, White, Brown, Tatum, Horford. Those are superstars, ultra stars. They're all over the NBA. Massive, massive impacts on their teams. Although I will give you something here. You brought up something interesting. Is the cohesion going to be okay for the New York Knicks? A lot of new guys. Bridges, Towns, no Randall, no Dante DiVincenzo. Josh Hart, starting lineup now. OG playing the 4. Are the Knicks going to be able to work around that? They have a lot of moving pieces. And I think really the primary reason for all these moving pieces was one sole reason: to defeat the Boston Celtics. Because if you take a look at the Celtics, they're the only team in the NBA that has really a decent gap on anybody else. They were absolutely dominant last season. Now the Knicks got off of a 40% three-point shooter in Dante DiVincenzo and replaced him with a 40% three-point shooter in Karl-Anthony Towns. They also got off Julius Randle, who was banged up with an injury and had a contract coming up. So I thought, regardless of what would have happened, Julius Randle would either be traded before the season or during the season. I did not think the Knicks would extend him. The Knicks also have a pretty nice record with Anunoby out there. In the regular season, 20-3 with Anunoby out there compared to 30-29 without him. Anunoby is a massive part of the Knicks defense, and that's what they really ride high on. Now, here's the one problem. Without Mitch Robinson out there, the big man defense and the offensive rebounding that the Knicks have, I think will actually be somewhat diminished because Karl-Anthony Towns likes to play outside. But that also allows the Knicks, on a plus side, spread the floor more evenly. Al Horford will be playing outside more and might allow Jalen Brunson to drive and kick it more often. But I do think, and this is going to be crazy, I am picking the Knicks to win here. I think they are. I really think that, because think about it, it'll be a battle of the three-point shot. That's what it is. That's what Joe Mazzulla believes in. Jalen Brunson is playing out of his mind since he came to the Knicks. I think with Karl-Anthony Towns in there instead of Mitch Robinson, you'll actually be allowed to shoot the three ball more. You have more sharpshooters. And if Jason Tatum, because we've seen it every single season for the past number of years, if he gets cold, it's like he's on ice. He freezes up. It'll be up to Jaylen Brown to pick up Jason Tatum's slack. So if Jason Tatum gets to a cold streak, I think the Knicks could create separation in the game and be able to overcome. Like I said, they lost 4 out of 5, and they did lose the opening game last year, but it was only a 4-point loss. The Celtics were incredibly dominant last year, averaging a margin of victory of nearly 11 points, which is ridiculous. I think the Knicks, though, with this new roster, a brand new motivation, a fully instituted culture that Tom Thibodeau and these players buy into, I'm going to take the Knicks here to win. I think right now, if they are able to win this game, they're on their way to being the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, which I think they have a very good shot at doing this year.
I think you're dreaming on this one.
Not a
I don't think it's going to happen, Nate. I mean, maybe later in the season once they gel and they really understand their rotations and Towns and Bridges get more accustomed to Thibodeau's coaching. Could be, because I think Thibodeau is one of the best coaches. He really brings defense to the game, and he has them playing tough defense generally. And I think that might, sometimes I think there's a little bit of a weakness for the Celtics. They don't really step up on defense sometimes the way they should. But the Celtics are the number 1 3-point shooting team in the league last year, Nate. Come on, you don't think they're going to hit a lot of threes tonight?
How about this?
You know what? This is the first game of the season. They're not going to be. Nobody's going to be really pushing it tonight. I don't think.
Hey,
I think they're going to.
The Knicks are.
They're going to be more 3-pointers taken tonight than you normally see.
Well, here's the thing.
In this game,
this is
and the Celtics are going to hit their fair share, and I think Jason Tatum will hit many, because there isn't that much stress tonight. It's the first game of the season.
Ring and banner
day.
That's
tonight.
The they're getting their rings tonight.
Yeah, well, they're going to be happy about that.
The Knicks are motivated, because this should have been the Eastern Conference Finals matchup. Last year, this should have been the matchup.
And the Knicks Celtics would have won it easily because of the injuries. The Knicks were depleted.
I agree, and that's the reason why they ended up losing to the Pacers. I'll say this though. How do we know that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to have a massive impact? The Knicks built their roster based on heavy wing defense, which is great up against Tatum and Brunson. Miles Bridges in the last 3 seasons has had the 5th lowest field goal percentage allowed in the NBA. 42% from the floor. If Jason Tatum shoots 42% overall, or if Jaylen Brown shoots 42% overall, because I think Tatum might shoot lower than that, I think it's going to be a great matchup. That's the key matchup right there. OG and Bridges against Brown and Tatum. Right there, that will be the game. Al Horford offensively has decreased just because he's an aging player and had to come off the bench because they got Porzingis last year. With him out, how will we know if he could actually pick up the pace? Because we remember, he had a severe cold streak for a large part of the season. Couldn't hit a 3-point shot for the life of him. So I think if that comes into play, who's going to be their primary scorer? Holiday's not going to give you 25. If Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are already, getting shut down relatively, Bridges and OG Anunoby, they're some of the best wing defenders in the NBA.
I mean, you just want to make an argument here. The Celtics won the championship last year.
I understand.
They are the champions of the NBA. They were the best team in the NBA.
Yes.
All season long. They won 64 games, right?
And we thought they should have won. That was their goal.
They could have won more. They weren't even trying on some of those games. They had their
once they clinched it.
Once they clinched it, they had their 3rd string in there at the end to try to win a close game. So, the Celtics are the number 1 team in the NBA until proven differently. And I don't think the Knicks are going to prove that tonight. They may be able to down the road. I think they made some really smart moves. I worry about their depth. I worry about these guys getting tired because they're going to have to play a lot of minutes with the bench severely depleted. Achua, you say, is hurt. So it's really McBride and Payne. Who the hell is Payne?
Campaign's been around a long time.
He's going to give them some pain out on the floor, I think. So I look at the matchups.
The depth of the
matchups favor the Celtics, and the point spread favors them too. Negative 5.5.
No. Everything favors the Celtics.
And do you think they aren't going to be pumped tonight to win the win when they hoisted the banner? You think they want to lose to the Knicks? That would be a sour taste.
I mean, it sounds like you just thought they think they're going to be, just
I don't think. I take that back. I don't think it will be cruise control. I think they're really going to try hard, but I don't think they're going to be going to the hole every play and banging it on the boards. I think it's going to be more a gentleman's game of shooting a lot of threes.
That's exactly what it's going to be, because that's Joe Mazzulla's ideology. That's what he brought in. And to begin, actually, in some crucial moments when that stopped working, you didn't have the defensive stoppage power that Ime Udoka brought to the Celtics. But you're right. Celtics won the championship last season, as they should have. They got Porzingis in there. They got Drew Holiday in there. They moved a lot of pieces to get him. They extended everybody. They're paying a very large sum to massive players. 2 $300+ million contracts to both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
They're worth every penny.
I agree with you. And Jaylen Brown was the Finals MVP last season. But Jalen Brunson is going to have a word to say about what Drew Holiday is going to be able to do, or Derek White, whoever's on him. I think it'll be a massive, and also we got to realize Josh Hart's rebounding ability. And again, I'll say it again, the wing defense. That's the game. I'm telling you, the game will be the matchup between Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown against OG and Mikal Bridges. That's the matchup right there. Whatever side wins, whatever side gets the advantage. I'm pretty sure it won't matter what the rest of the roster's doing. Doesn't matter what the other 3 guys on each team
I'd say OG is going to be on Tatum, right?
That's probably going to be my guess. That's the matchup. That's the game. Whoever gets the advantage there, if Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown starts going off and OG or Bridges cannot reciprocate that, the Celtics are going to run away with this game. 10-plus point victory.
I think the Celtics' hidden weapon is Derek White.
I agree.
They gave him a nice contract. He's going to be around for 5 more years. And I love his game. Very good defense, and he's a clutch 3-point shooter when they need it.
That is true. And I'll give the Celtics this. They do have the best defensive backcourt in the entire NBA. Drew Holiday, Derek White. Unbelievable defenders. So I think, once again, it'll be tough for Jalen Brunson to make a massive impact unless he just has a lights-out game, which we've seen him do. But with OG out there, with everybody but Mitch Robinson healthy, I think the Knicks going to have a very, very good shot at upsetting. I'll take the Knicks to win here. 5.5 point spread. It'll be nothing for New York. I believe in the Knicks. Let's get into our next topic here. So, we covered this topic on Friday's show. It was the San Francisco 49ers against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think what a dud of a game, to be honest with you. 5 interceptions between both quarterbacks. Both quarterbacks that a lot of people think are in the top 10 of quarterbacks, with Mahomes obviously ranked as the number 1 quarterback in the NFL over his career since he entered the league. But the Kansas City Chiefs were able to get a 28-18 victory. The only touchdown from either quarterback came on a Mahomes scramble. Meanwhile, Brock Purdy also had 2 rushing touchdowns, but both quarterbacks could not find the end zone while passing. Purdy 3 interceptions, Mahomes 2 interceptions. You picked the 49ers to pull out this victory. They were favored by 1.5. I want to know, though, what was your reaction to Sunday's game between these two teams?
Okay, well, my takeaways here, and I missed it. I picked the 49ers. I should have picked the Chiefs, and it was a mistake. I mean, the Chiefs' power ranking, number 1 now. 49ers, 16. The 49ers decimated with injuries now. Brock Purdy doesn't seem to be able to rise to the occasion when his key weapons are hurt. But my takeaways in the game, the Chiefs, they headed to the Super Bowl, I think, now. They're 6-0. And Mahomes, only 6 TD passes, tied for the lead in interceptions with 8. He's bound to play better the rest of the season. I just don't see him continuing to play like this. And them being 6-0, they mastered I think they mastered the art of winning ugly, which is almost always the hallmark of a great team. They find a way to win ugly. The Patriots did that in the late stages of their dynasty. They found ways to win ugly, and the Chiefs have mastered that now. I think what could help them is maybe finding a receiver to bring in, because their receiver core, I don't know, Worthy. He's somebody that can be really sparkling and maybe spectacular, but they don't seem to find a way to get him the ball that often. He's like a mystery man, or he's missing in action most of the game, and then once in a while he comes up with a big play. They're going to Travis Kelce a lot. He's 35 years old. He's taking some pretty hard hits. I don't think you can do that regularly. And that leaves you with people like Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean,
he was injured actually in this game.
Yeah, he got injured, and he's an inconsistent player. Who have they got left? Who is Hardman? I guess they put him in there, and he's not a bad player, but he's not a number 1. So I think that could be a problem for them. The 2 picks that Mahomes had in this game, they weren't all his fault. The run game looks pretty good for them, and it was very supportive in this game. 7 players ran with the ball, so they spread the wealth around, and it worked quite well for them. Their defense, to me, they say defense wins championships. That to me is something you could look at the Chiefs and say, yeah, that could be it. Could be the secret sauce for them. The defense continues to play at a consistently high level. I see why they're ranked number 1 in the power rankings, although we could debate that the Ravens ought to be up there number 1 too.
Oh, I'm sure we will. We're talking about the Ravens a little bit later. We're definitely debating that. I want to play a clip that I played on Friday. It's Steve Spagnuolo, defensive coordinator of the Chiefs, talking about Brock Purdy. And just take a listen to what he had to say before this matchup.
I just think their system is built that they really can expose zone coverage, and yet I think they got enough skill that if you don't have the right man people covering their men, that can be challenging too. I mean, it's going to start up front and stop in the run, and hopefully we can get the quarterback not to be in timing like he is, because I can't find a weakness in this quarterback. Every time I put the film on, I'm more and more impressed.
Well, I found a weakness. It's adversity. That was a big question mark with Brock Purdy. He was on the deepest team with some of the highest talent with Christian McCaffrey, who is the best overall running back in the NFL. Receiving, running, doesn't matter. He was always the best. So the 49ers, in totality, they also have always had a phenomenal defense with talent all around and one of the best offensive head coaches in the NFL. So adversity did not come very often for Purdy and the Niners. But there's a difference, and it really showed itself on Sunday, the difference between what a legitimate elite quarterback, when faced with adversity, can deal with compared to one that is really not accustomed to it based on the situation. So I understand. Mahomes is a completely different tier of quarterbacks, and it really shows. Because when throwing only 1 interception in a game, he has a 70% winning percentage, nearly 300 yards a game, 60% completion percentage, 7.8 yards an attempt, 104 touchdowns to 71 interceptions, a 91 passer rating. What about if he throws 1 pick and 0 touchdowns in a game? How does he do? Because it's very difficult to win when your quarterback can't throw a single touchdown. He has a higher winning percentage, nearly 250 yards a game. Completion percentage still near about 61%. Yards per attempt are 7. Passer ratings only a 65, and he's winning 3/4 of his games. Average margin of victory, they win by more than 10 points a game. What about Brock Purdy? Same criteria. When throwing 1 interception or more in a game, he only wins 42% of the time. 246.5 passing yards, nearly 62% completion percentage, 8.5 yards an attempt, 15 touchdowns to 22. See the difference? 104-74 for Mahomes, 15-22 for Brock Purdy, a passer rating of 78. Now, what about 1 interception, 0 touchdowns in a singular game? How does he do then? He hasn't won a single game. Mike is falling down. Hasn't won a single game. 177 yards per game. 51% completion percentage. Passer rating of 36.4. You would have a higher passer rating if you threw an incomplete pass with every single throw in throughout the entire game. I think it's 39.6. He is even below that, and he loses by more than 2 touchdowns. So Brock Purdy, when faced with adversity, he doesn't do very well. That's just flat out. When he makes a crucial mistake, he does not win games. And it gets even worse when he doesn't have his Avengers. With his Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, it only gets worse. So this really showed. Yes, Brock Purdy is a really good quarterback, but he is not anywhere near the same tier as a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, or Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes is in a tier by himself currently. Because like you mentioned, they are somehow finding ways to win when Mahomes leads the league in interceptions. That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
He's throwing a pick more than once a game on average.
Well, I would say my takeaway for the 49ers, and you put it up there pretty clearly, they're headed for the exits right now. Brock Purdy, 3 interceptions, all inside Kansas City's 34-yard line.
They were bad ones, too.
Yeah. With the final one in the end zone, right? And that you can't win a game like that. And the difference between the Chiefs and the 49ers, I'd say, is the Chiefs can survive a poor production game from the quarterback against a quality foe, and the 49ers just can't do that. No Debo. Ayuk out for the season now after all of that hoopla about his contract
Torn
and
ACL.
holding out and everything, and now he's hurt so badly he can't play at all. He's out for the season. No CMC.
He'll be back by week 10.
It's just a problem for the 49ers. Can't survive 3-pick games from Brock Purdy and expect to win when they don't have those weapons. They're deficient in all three phases of the game. In the game against the Chiefs, they're 3-4 now. They got to win against Dallas before the bye, and they need CMC back. And I guess they'll get him back after the bye. Is that what's looking
week
to be?
10, I believe.
Yeah. Wow. That's a pretty bad injury he had. Then.
Yeah, it's Achilles tendonitis in both of his legs.
Wow.
That's bad. But once again, Steve Spagnuolo, tremendous job defensively. You lose some of your top defenders, especially L'Jarius Sneed. You expect the defense to take a step back. If anything, the Chiefs remain largely the same. Nobody has success running the football. Zero. And if you become a one-dimensional team because the opposing team takes away an entire portion of an offensive scheme, then they know what's coming. They have opportunities to take advantage of knowing that you're going to pass because they stopped the run anyway. Chris Jones is having a tremendous season. Think about this. To set the tone, opening half, they just allowed San Francisco to score only 6 points. 6 points. And right before their third quarter touchdown, this is how their drives ended. Punt, pick, punt, field goal, punt, field goal. Like, they're just not allowing anybody to score. A tremendous red zone defense. I mean, the Chiefs are doing an incredible job, and the NFL should be put on notice right now. If you're worried about the Chiefs somehow falling off a cliff and not being able to, sustain success when it comes to this formula, how about this? Take a look at their record. Mahomes is, you could say right now, Mahomes is arguably, based on the numbers, not a top 10 quarterback in the league. Yet they're 6-0. Yet they're running the ball with Kareem Hunt, who was sitting on his couch a couple weeks ago. Their starting running back and their top 2 wide receivers are currently not playing football. They're injured. The wide receiver 3, Juju Smith-Schuster, who was supposed to come in and help them, is also hurt.
Yeah, well, that's why I say I think the
An offensive
Chiefs,
line with 2 tackles who are not great. They're 6-0.
I think that's why I think Mahomes, he's going to play better than he's played so far, and they've won every game with him playing mediocre football, maybe even lower tier football, and that's gonna change, particularly when they're going to get Pacheco back. That's going to help them. So I think the things would be looking up for the Chiefs down the road here, and that can only help them with the record of undefeated right now, the only undefeated team in the league.
This is worrisome for the Niners because it just proves once again one obstacle you can't get around. You can't beat a team that the next time you'll see them could be in the Super Bowl. That's the only other time you could see this team now, is in the Super Bowl. And if you're right now 0-5 against this team, what motivation do you have? What ground do you have to stand on? What redeeming factor do you have in this game? Oh yeah, it's only 10 points? My quarterback threw 3 interceptions. Their quarterback threw 2 interceptions. Nobody could score an offensive touchdown for the quarterbacks. No one could throw a touchdown.
It was a ugly game.
Now you have to worry about, my running back could be back by week 10, or how hard are we going to push him? Because CMC is this offense. The red zone offense for the 49ers has fallen off a cliff because, again, CMC has a massive influence in the passing game, massive influence in the running game. Hell, he's even thrown touchdown passes. He's a factor in the passing game.
Mm-hmm. Well, he should be well rested when they get him back, as long as his tendonitis is fixed.
You would assume that, but I don't know. How hard are you going to push him? Because since he came to the Niners, he's been relatively healthy. But on Carolina, he was always banged up. He was always dealing with injuries. A couple of them were season-ending. So it really matters about how hard you want to push him. But the fact that the Chiefs remain undefeated, went up against a 49ers team that we all think is pretty good. Yes, they were banged up with receivers, but both teams were. Yeah, you can worry about Deebo Samuel dealing with an illness, Ayuk now, ACL tear, CMC's gone. Okay, let's compare the two. Okay, starting wide receiver for both teams, not there. Wide receiver 2 for both teams, not there. Wide receiver 3 for both teams, not there. Starting running back for both teams, not there.
It showed in the game. It was an ugly game.
So if we're saying, but both teams are dealing with injuries. And if you look at the talent for both injuries, the Chiefs already starting at their starting point is that if both teams are fully healthy, the wide receiver core for the Chiefs would still be inferior. So I don't want to hear nothing about, but the injuries, Ayuk, Samuel, Jennings. I don't want to hear it. Because the Chiefs are winning with all those weapons already injured. In an offensive line that's not built the same. They don't have the best left tackle in the NFL. They don't have the best running back in the NFL. Isaiah Pacheco's not the best running back. Kareem Hunt for sure isn't the best running back, yet he's having a massive impact. 22 carries, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Mecole Hardman, he's an end-around guy now. Short, quick plays, gadget plays, now hands off on jet sweeps. He even had a rushing touchdown in this game. If we're going to put Brock Purdy in he's a part of this group, great numbers, a lot of success early, then we have to be honest. Again, the question presents itself. How much of it is the team versus how much of it is him? We could see it from Mahomes. We see it from Josh Allen. We see it from Lamar Jackson. They have the biggest impact on their team. The system helps 100%, but it's the player making the plays themselves. Brock Purdy, we've seen it in this game, and we see it in a number of other games. Brock Purdy gets his help from the scheme and from his team, not from him making the plays that matter. We've seen it again. Mahomes had a 33-yard rush. And I do want to say something before we move on. The NFL the NFL banned, because Kenny Pickett did it in college, the fake slide. Can we implement something where both feet have to be out of bounds and then there's a penalty for a late hit out of bounds? Because Mahomes is doing something that I don't really appreciate, and I did pick the Chiefs to win. He's kind of faking going out of bounds, and then just running up the sideline. Because if he steps out of bounds, that 1 foot, there's going to be a flag thrown. So I think teams only need to do one of two things. One, make him pay for doing it. Or two, just hit him anyway. If you get flagged, so what? I think because Mahomes is doing it, he's playing the sideline beautifully. Teams got to go out and just deck him because that 33-yard rush was a fake go out of bounds. Because the game is so centered around protecting the quarterback, protecting the stars. If Mahomes is going to abuse that and kind of tiptoe along the sideline, and then defenders have to, if I get hit, he's going to step out of bounds, a flag's going to be called. Is that now a calculated risk that teams should take? I'm not saying go out and go, old Steelers and headhunt or whatever that was, getting extra checks to injure players. But what I'm saying
that wasn't the Steelers.
Who was that?
To Philadelphia.
I thought that was Mike Tomlin. No, $10,000 for if you injure a player.
No, I thought it was the Saints. It was the Saints.
That's right,
that were
Saints.
Doing it,
was that I'm forgetting his name. Doug someone?
I don't remember.
I forget his name. Was it Joe Douglas, I think? Was that? I'm pretty sure it was.
No. Joe Douglas is a GM.
No, you're right.
Jets.
Who was the DC? He was the DC for the Jets.
I
forget what it was.
I remember that he was the DC for the Jets, but I can't remember his name.
Some with Doug, I think. But yeah, no, I think that's a calculated risk now. If Mahomes starts going out of bounds, hit him anyway. So what?
Yeah.
So what? Because it's getting ridiculous. 33-yard run when you're basically faking going out of bounds. That's my only real problem with it. But no, I picked the Chiefs to win. Mahomes now moves to 5-0, incredibly dominant. Although in this game, I don't know how dominant you want to say. He had a 44 passer rating. He normally doesn't win games like that. But yeah, I think this really shows the disparity between the actual elite quarterbacks and the ones that are just really good. Brock Purdy still needs to prove that he's elite. And now with some of his top weapons out, this is going to start his resume on being really elite. Otherwise, he's still part of the really good category. The system helps him more than he's making the plays for. There's only a number of quarterbacks that have that. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, and I think, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Mahomes. Those are really the only three that are super influential to their own team. Other quarterbacks, they're really, really great, but they don't fall into I'm the offense. I make the biggest impact. We're going to take a quick break, but coming up, the Lions were able to overcome the Minnesota Vikings and hand them their first loss of the season. Does this make them the best team in the NFC? Also, Lamar Jackson, what a game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, although the Bucs did suffer some pretty crucial injuries to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. We'll take a look at both those games, break it down, and analyze it right after this break.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online, and Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show. So it looks like the NFC North has a little bit of a switch up with the Lions taking control of the NFC North after their massive 31-29 victory with a Jake Bates game-winning field goal. This now moves both teams to 5-1 with the Lions taking control of the NFC North and surpassing the Minnesota Vikings. Jared Goff has been an absolute tear the last 3 weeks, while Sam Darnold has been shaky a little bit, but didn't have too bad of a game. 22 of 27 for 259 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. I want to know, does this win for the Lions make them the best team in not only the NFC North, but in the NFC in its totality?
My takeaways on this for the Lions look like a strong Super Bowl contender now. With this blowout win against Dallas a week ago and a win on the road against the Vikings in a very close game, they found a way to pull it out. They seem to have the requisite fearlessness and explosiveness befitting a championship-level team. And that's something you couldn't say about them last year. Last year, they were suspect. This season, man, they're steamrolling teams. And they're winning the close game. I mean, that game on Sunday at the Vikings in hostile territory was a game for first place. And they found a way to win the game. And they fell behind early. They were behind by 10-0 at the beginning. They ripped off 21 unanswered points. Then things got dicey late as an 11-point lead evaporated, and they fumbled twice. They found a way to overcome that adversity. In the end, Goff delivered the clutch throws and that game-winning field goal drive. That, to me, looks a lot like the Chiefs in a lot of ways, right? You find a way to win, and maybe it got a little ugly there when they fumbled twice, but they came up pretty big. And the defense, we talked about Hutchinson being out. Is that the piece that they'll miss to not be able to make the Super Bowl? Well, they came up with 4 sacks of Darnold, and still the Vikings should, I think. The Lions should still consider picking up another pass rusher before the trade deadline. The guy from the Jets, what's his name?
Hassan Reddick.
Yeah, Hassan Reddick. He's out there. He's a good player. Maybe the Lions ought to consider him. But all in all, very impressed with the Lions. I think they really show that they've got the championship caliber and that they are fighting to get back to that NFC championship game and this time knock the doors down and make it to the Super Bowl.
Well, I picked the Vikings in this game, and that was a mistake. Although entering the game, you could look at it, and the matchups worked beautifully. The Vikings against the run were one of the best run defense teams in the NFL. Jared Goff under pressure up at this point was not great. He was ranked 25th in the league while under pressure. But in this game and the past 3 games, Goff has been, I'm going to say, if not number 1, number 2, the best quarterback in the NFL. 85.29% completion percentage, 295.6 yards a game, 7 touchdowns, no picks in the last 3 games. One of those games included 100% completion percentage, 292 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Goff has been on an absolute tear. Jahmyr Gibbs, when David Montgomery was dealing with an injury, he stepped up big time. Ended the game 15 rushes, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also got 4 passes for 44 yards. I mean, the Lions are clicking on every single cylinder. And I thought you would open up your take with Dan Gamble nearly did it again. Because to open up the game, what they did was a fake punt in Vikings territory, which led to a 2-play drive with Aaron Jones running it in for a touchdown. And I looked at myself, I was like, oh, this is great for me. Dan Campbell's doing it again. He's making some unnecessary risk in their own territory. Vikings are going to go up big. They play their best with the lead, and Jared Goff sometimes crumbles. And then what happened? Jared Goff did what he's been doing. Extremely accurate, picking up first downs, playing with the run, and defensively, they didn't need to have Aiden Hutchinson out there because Brian Branch did a phenomenal job on defense. An incredible job. He had a couple pass breakups. He had an interception in this game. He allowed a 25 passer rating when thrown at. He did an incredible job. His interception, beautiful, undercut the route, being able to jump up and get it. He had a 91 coverage rate according to PFF, best in the entire game. They did a phenomenal job. Pass rush seems to be pretty decent, although it obviously could be much better, but you don't have your best pass rusher and the best pass rusher in the NFL out there anymore with a broken tibia and fibula. But I was incredibly impressed. The Lions were able to get to Sam Darnold, cause him a lot of distress, force him into an interception. Meanwhile, the Lions were able to actually counteract what Brian Flores was going to do anyway. Jared Goff got blitzed and was under pressure 58.6% of the time. And how did Jared Goff handle that pressure? By the way, before this game, I'll say it again, was ranked 25th against pressure in this game. He went 11 of 13, 156 yards, and 1 touchdown. 12 yards an attempt. That was Jared Goff after being terrible, basically terrible, throughout the entire season against the best pass rush in the NFL that the Minnesota Vikings had, who led the league in QB hurries, QB knockdowns, total pressures. Jared Goff was able to dissect an incredibly good Minnesota Vikings defense. 84.6% completion percentage, 156 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, a 12-yard per attempt. Jared Goff did a phenomenal job. It's incredible. And honestly, I know it's crazy when you think about Jared Goff's story. He was able to make it to a Super Bowl early in his career, going up against the Patriots, falling in that game, not looking great. Then his reputation declined rapidly in Los Angeles, traded away to Detroit for Matt Stafford as kind of a contractual piece to get off of him. And now look what he's doing. And I think it's safe to say, it's crazy to say, but I think based on what we're seeing now, he is in the running for the most valuable player of the year. Now, I think what we've seen recently is one guy just separate himself pretty decently amongst the rest of his peers. But to say that Jared Goff is just, having a great season and really that's it, I don't think that. I think it's playing it too safe. Jared Goff is having an MVP level season, just like Dak last year. Just
his first two games are pretty poor.
They were bad, but what we've seen so far is the last 3 games have been great. Also, the quarterback that just separated himself also lost his first 2 games. It didn't look all that great.
You don't think Lamar's having a better season than
that's
him?
the quarterback I was hinting at. He right now, and we're going to talk about it right after this topic, he right now is the favorite to win MVP again.
Yeah.
So I think it's safe to say Jared Goff is having a tremendous season. The past 3 games just shows what the Lions could look like if they hit on all cylinders. And this is, now to start the season, you were right. I was nervous about my Super Bowl pick because I have the Lions winning the Super Bowl this year. This is starting to prove why I thought that. This is the team I expected to see. Them being a great team, great coach team, offense clicking. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a tremendous game with the Thunder and Lightning combo of Montgomery and Gibbs. Once Montgomery was dealing with an injury, Gibbs stepped up big time, had a couple beautiful runs, and he runs hard. He runs aggressively, and he runs hard. So you go up against this team, and I'm not saying that the Vikings are out of contention, but the Lions just prove why they're the better team.
Well, I would say they
are the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, well, my takeaway for the Vikings is the loss to the Lions is really not a significant setback. They only lost by 2 points on a field goal late in the game. Darnold bounced back from his worst outing of the season the week before to have arguably his best game despite having 1 interception. Aaron Jones got it through an injury to give his team an offensive boost. 3 of the next 4 games for the Vikings, the Rams away, the Colts at home, the Jaguars away, and the Titans at home are all very winnable games. I think they could easily go 4-0 in those games. So I think that the Vikings are still in it And we're going to talk about the Vikings-Rams here coming up in a minute, and I've got a blockbuster there.
Interesting.
I don't want to give it away just
That's fine.
yet.
Good. I'm glad. We tease the show. Keep people hooked. This is a Super Bowl team. This is a Lions team, and once again, it's crazy to say. The Lions really haven't really been successful. They've been disappointments. They've had great players, Matt Stafford, Calvin Johnson, and they haven't really done anything with it. But the past couple seasons, the Lions keep proving what growth looks like, what teams that are being discounted and devalued look like when they actually show their true colors now. Jared Goff is a very good quarterback. He's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Dan Campbell is inching closer to becoming a top 10 head coach in the NFL. This defense is a really, really good defense. Now, the numbers might not show it because, again, they're allowing a lot of yards. But look at the Ravens defense. We all think the Ravens defense is pretty good. They're worse against the pass a couple weeks ago. But yet they're still out here winning games. Detroit's defense currently is ranked 18th. But here's the big one. They're 5th against the run. And we just talked about if teams rely on a nice balanced offense, Bills, Niners, and you shut down half that offense, you become very predictable. And if you rely on Sam Darnold, he's going to make mistakes. He's not going to come up big. We saw against the Jets how poor the offense looked without Aaron Jones out there. Sam Darnold did not trust Ty Chandler. The offense became stagnant. It became predictable. If the Lions could shut down a running game while also having a number 3 pass game and the number 4 running game in the NFL, how many teams could stop them? I don't think many. I think we have to say the Chiefs, and I think we have to say the Ravens, because those are probably some of the top teams in the NFL. But I think currently, if we're doing power rankings, for me, Ravens 1, Baltimore 2, Chiefs 3. I understand the Chiefs beat Baltimore, but the Baltimore team that played week 1 is not the Baltimore team that's playing now.
I agree 100%. The Lions, I have 3 in the power ranking, and the Vikings 4.
Not bad. Who's your 1 and 2?
I have Chiefs and Ravens, but I would say the Chiefs are number 1. I don't think the Chiefs currently are ranked number 1, but I think it's the Ravens.
Okay, fair. Let's talk about that team right now, because what a game it was. It was a good game all around, though. High scoring, which I like, although people who like defensive games obviously don't. It was a great win, though. So on Monday, yesterday, the Baltimore Ravens were able to rally from an early 10-point deficit to get its 5th consecutive victory, a 41-31 road win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There were some very noteworthy injuries. Chris Godwin, dislocated ankle. He'll be out for basically the entire season. Mike Evans re-aggravated a hamstring injury. He'll be out until after week 11. It's pretty brutal, but Lamar Jackson, basically a perfect passer rating. I think it was 158.1, which is 0.2 away from being perfect. He had 5 touchdowns in this game. Derrick Henry, another great game as well. He actually caught a passing touchdown, receiving touchdown in this game. Lamar Jackson, 77% completion percentage, 281 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. I have it on the screen. He had 333 total yards. He also ran for over 50 yards. I don't know, though. How impressive was this win, Baltimore win, over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last night?
Very impressive. I mean, they started out looking like they might lose the game. They got behind 14-0. But my takeaway here is Lamar could be the MVP again. The ground and pound formula working well, even with Henry's light and load. You can see they're trying to rest him a little bit. Lamar was terrific. Humphrey had 2 interceptions. Henry came on late to close it out. And Mark Andrews should be, I think he still has what it takes. I think some people are kind of writing him off a little bit.
Yeah.
He had a very good game there. Had a touchdown pass, a touchdown caught from Lamar. I think the defense have shown a few little signs of trouble until Evans left the game. But then it clamped down and hard with interceptions on back-to-back Bucs drives. Could be the number 1 power-ranked team, I think, if the defense could avoid the late-game breakdowns and early miscues, which they showed a little bit the other night. But I like the Ravens a lot. I'd rank them number 1.
And I agree. I'd rank the Ravens number 1. Let's see, this is difficult. Because the Lions, what we've seen recently, they look like a tremendous team. But the Ravens on this 5-game win streak once again showed their identity. First 2 weeks, it was like, okay, should we run the ball a lot with Derrick Henry? John Harbaugh saying we didn't get Derrick Henry to run 30 times. I've showed the numbers. If Derrick Henry runs more than 20 times, he wins a bunch of games. I think it's 38 of 54, something crazy like that. He wins a majority of his games. No, the Ravens, and especially Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson himself played great, played phenomenal. He looked like the best quarterback in the NFL. And I think at this point we have to say, yes, Lamar Jackson currently is the best quarterback in the NFL. Josh Allen, too much up and down. Joe Burrow, really poor start. Individual performance recently has been great, but overall, you're not going to give it to a guy whose team is absolutely reeling right now. There's not many quarterbacks you could say that could really compete for the number one spot. Mahomes for sure hasn't. Statistically, individually, he's playing like not even a top 10 quarterback right now. He leads the league in interceptions. Lamar Jackson himself has played absolutely incredible. But overall, the Ravens, though, the Ravens as a team, their defense, I think, is a little bit too shaky. Too shaky. And we nearly saw, again, another fourth quarter collapse by Baltimore. You could say they took their foot off the gas, but this was an absolute blowout until the fourth quarter, when very late in the game, the Bucs started to creep back and nearly made it. They even got an onside kick recovery. I do think the loss to Mike Evans changed how things were, because after he drops a touchdown pass, re-aggravates his hamstring injury, and then 3 plays later, Brock Purdy throws it directly to Marlon Humphrey. You can't do that. You can't do that. And then the second interception, he did have, I believe it was Sterling Shepard on the right side. He did have him open, underthrow him, easy pick again for the Baltimore Ravens.
You said Brock Purdy, it was Baker Mayfield.
Did I say Brock Purdy? I meant Baker Mayfield. Excuse me. So for me, when it comes down to it, I think the Ravens as a whole could be an issue, but I love what I'm seeing from Derrick Henry. I absolutely love what I'm seeing from Lamar Jackson. The two players that honestly are the most consistent pieces, the most reliable pieces are those two. Offensive line still can't block.
Yeah, well, the defense,
Rashad Bateman finally, but
letting teams back in the game late. That almost happened again.
That's what I said.
Yeah, they got to be careful of that. That's that's the one wavering thing that between the Chiefs 1 and the Ravens number 1. That's the one you look at and say, well, maybe the Chiefs are number 1, because the Ravens have a problem late in the game letting teams back in the game. But my takeaways for the Bucs are not an elite team, and they risk dropping out of contention, I think, if Evans is out for an extended period, and also now the loss of Godwin for the season with a dislocated ankle. I think Mayfield, he looked frazzled after Evans got hurt, had 2 picks, and Trey Palmer really prevented a third pick of Mayfield. After a slow start, the Ravens... they went to work on the Bucs defense, scoring 6 straight possessions, including the 26-7 loss to the Broncos. That's 2 double-digit losses to AFC teams playing at home. If you're an elite team, you can't let that happen. And now the Bucs 4-3. I think their trajectory looks bad with the depleted status of the receiving core. Mayfield looking frazzled without those guys out there. Their defense, an average kind of defense. You have to have Mayfield playing at the top of his game for the Bucs to be a contender, and without that receiving core, I don't see it. Well,
here's the reason why. I said that I think it's really the Ravens as a whole I had a concern with. This is the number 1 rush defense in the NFL, and you just gave up. You gave the Bucs, who are not a great running team this season. They're a good running team, but historically, the past few years, they've been the worst running team. You gave up the most rushing yards you've given up all game to a team that doesn't run the ball particularly well. That's what I have a concern with. If you go up against a team who is a balanced team, who isn't as fluctuating as maybe the Bills are, if you play a consistent team, how are the Ravens going to do? And I know people are going to come at me for it, but I'm going to say it again. This is great. This is, I think, the 3rd year in a row where we're hearing in October, Lamar's the MVP. He's playing the Ravens Super Bowl. And then it just take a couple months. We get to the cold months. We get to January. And the Ravens don't make it to February because it comes down to the playoffs.
I think their problem this year right now is losing those first 2 games. They need to have the bye. They need to have the bye in order to have a chance of beating Kansas City. They got to play them at home again, and they have to learn from last year's mistakes. Trey Flowers playing much better
Zay
this
Flowers.
year. Zay Flowers playing much better this year. He looks like
I think he's a good receiver
He's
last
a
year
number.
and this
He
year.
was a number one. He's a number one, bona fide number one now. I think.
I think so.
Plus,
Rashad
adding
Bateman had a great year.
Derrick
Or a great
Henry,
year.
you got the weapons are stronger this year for the Ravens. Losing those first 2 games, to me, they got to recover from that. They kind of have to go almost undefeated the rest of the way.
Well, if you
I
think about it now, they're tied with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got to worry about their own division now because
Yeah.
currently the Steelers are leading that division, which is shocking because it's Justin Fields and now Russell Wilson. So they have to get over that hump. Screw the bye for now because the Chiefs have that on lock for the time being. They got to worry about winning their own division. And I think when it comes down to it, they eventually will because their next few games are pretty easy. The Bengals with no defense. The Denver Broncos, who they have a great defense. Offense can't do anything. I think Bo Nix will struggle in that game. And then the most recent game this upcoming week, it's at Cleveland, who will be playing either Jameis Winston or Bailey Zappi, who they picked up today at quarterback. DTR's hurt, and obviously Deshaun Watson goes down with an Achilles injury. And then they obviously go at Steelers in Week 11, at Chargers, and then versus Philadelphia, then their bye in Week 14. They have a pretty decently easy schedule moving forward, so I think they have an opportunity to win out. It's just, again, what are the Steelers going to do? Because we thought Steelers going to have a losing record, not going to do that well because they have Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. They're 5-2. They're 5-2. The Chiefs, with Mahomes playing his worst in his entire career, they're 6-0. So, once again, NFL's filled with parity.
I think the Steelers, it's their defense. It's really their strength.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
Although Russ Wilson that second half played incredible. Very, very incredible. But no, like the Ravens right now, I would probably put them as the number 1 team. I'll pick the Lions at number 2, and I'll put the Chiefs at 3. Those are my top 3 teams because I do think that if the Ravens played the Chiefs today, I think the Ravens would win.
I do too.
I think if the Lions played the Chiefs, the Lions would win. I think right now, I mean, who wouldn't be happy with a Lions Ravens Super Bowl? Lamar finally gets the Super Bowl. Lions, who have a fan base that's been waiting for this for their franchise's history.
Yep.
They've been waiting to get the Super Bowl.
It'll be great.
I agree with that. All right, we're going to take a quick break, but coming up, we're going to make our Thursday night predictions. It was going Rams, Vikings. Can the Vikings bounce back, or can the Rams maybe getting a special person back who also might be going away soon? We'll talk about that right after this.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Stephen Harvey. Great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our final topic of today's show. Thursday night football. Rams, Vikings. Vikings coming off a brutal game-winning field goal loss to the Detroit Lions, while the Rams picked up a 5-point victory last week. Not a great victory. Again, they could barely beat the Las Vegas Raiders with Gardner Minshew throwing a number of interceptions, Aiden O'Connell not playing that well. Screwed over the Harvey hot end. This is the one I was probably the saltiest about. And also, the Chargers' 2-point loss to the Cardinals. They couldn't score a touchdown. Field goals all around. If you have Cam Dicker, good job. Thursday night football. Let's see. Can the Vikings, this is the question I'm going to ask, can the Vikings bounce back and get another victory after losing to the Detroit Lions, or will the Rams extend their winning streak to 2 games?
I say yes. I think the Vikings will beat the Rams, but I have a question for you.
Sure. Let's bring 'em
What
back.
would it take for you to think that the Vikings are a Super Bowl contender?
Sam Darnold looking coherent. I think there have been moments where he's too radical. He's too all over the place.
So you think that all the other pieces are there. It's the quarterback situation.
Aaron Jones being healthy, offensive line's good enough. Brian Flores is doing a tremendous job on the defense, and they already have star receivers.
So it's the quarterback.
Sam Darnold,
That's the issue. There's rumors out there that the Vikings are going to trade for Matthew Stafford.
What?
Yeah, I read them today. They're out there on the media sites that Matthew Stafford may be on the block, and if Cooper Kupp is on the block, then maybe the Rams are going to throw away the season here, trade for picks and try to rebuild. And do you think that the Vikings would be interested in trading Sam Darnold for Matthew Stafford?
You couldn't do a 1-1 trade. I think Matt Stafford brings too much value.
So they would get picks too.
I think you need to include more than just Sam Darnold to make that.
But
trade
you think
work.
it's possible that could happen? Matthew Stafford to the Vikings.
It would be very surprising. I mean, right now the teams are about to play each other, so I don't know if
it won't happen this week for sure. The game's on Thursday night.
Well,
it's only 2 days away.
Yeah, you got what? And if it's not this week, the trade deadline's now week 9.
Yeah.
So what? It's
coming up.
It's about 10 days ish from now. 14 days now, something like that. It would surprise me. I don't see it happening though.
I mean, the Rams' record now, they won
2-4.
2-4. So you say they're thinking about trading Cooper Kupp?
Cooper Kupp is getting calls.
Yeah. So why would they do that if they were thinking about winning? I mean, the reason they went out and got Matthew Stafford is to throw to him, and they're going to trade him away. I mean, Puka Nacua has had trouble. He's been having trouble staying healthy.
They opened up his window today to come back from IR.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this and saying that there's a possibility that the Vikings go after Matthew Stafford.
Interesting.
And if they do, then I think that the Vikings will have to give up potentially a 2, maybe even a 1 for next year to get him. I mean, they have J.J. McCarthy in the wings.
But he's out for the season.
He's out the whole season. The Vikings, I think they clearly believe they have the talent to compete for the Super Bowl with the question mark of the quarterback.
5-1 start proves that.
Yeah.
It has to prove. You also beat some of the top teams that we think in the NFL, including the 49ers.
Yeah.
And you went toe-to-toe with the Detroit Lions, who up to this point, Jared Goff was basically unstoppable, and you lost on a game-winning field goal.
Yeah.
I think for me, though, Thursday night has done one thing. Take the home team. Take the home team. And I'm picking the Rams in this game. I think Cooper Kupp is looking like he will play in this game. I understand Rams defense, pitiful. Rams offense in totality has been pretty bad. But I do think the Vikings took a shattering loss against the Detroit Lions. It was pretty brutal to see for them. 5-0, you were up 10-0. Rams come back the Lions come back with 21 unanswered points, and then it's a battle in the second half for who's going to come out on top, and it looked like you were. When it comes to that trade, I probably don't see it happening, and I do see some of the reports. It was big in the offseason as well that the Vikings were very interested in trading Matt Stafford. There was a contract situation, reconstruction for the Rams, but I don't see that happening.
I hear that the Rams are interested in Darnold. They'd like to have him. I mean, he played at USC. He's familiar to the California fans in that neighborhood. So
he played for San Francisco last year.
Yeah.
I don't think so. When it comes to this game, though, I trust Matt Stafford. It's the quarterback battle. When it's all said and done, you can talk about head coach, you can talk about defense, you can talk about offense, but it matters, as you always say. Quarterback handles the ball in every single play. So you have to have a pretty trustworthy quarterback. And I think the Rams defense is getting healthier. Rams offense getting healthier. I'm gonna take the Rams here. It could be a complete miss of a pick, but I think that there are definitely cracks in the Vikings used to be undefeated armor. The Lions ripped that armor completely apart, gave them their first loss, and showed a way to succeed. Run the damn ball. Be efficient on both phases, passing and running offensively. I think Stafford, I still think, if everybody's healthy, which people are getting healthier, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He just won a Super Bowl a few years ago. I'm trusting Matt Stafford to get it done. It's going to be a relatively close game. I got the Rams winning 31-28. I don't think defense will be a big factor in this one. I think it'll be relatively high scoring. 31-28 for me. Rams win. Upset.
Yeah, I think that the Rams may be getting a little bit healthier, but not enough to beat the Vikings, who have one of the best defenses in the league. They have Aaron Jones now recovering. He gutted through the game this past week with that injury, and he's going to be healthier for this game. Sam Darnold bouncing back and having his best game, arguably, last week after a kind of a very poor game the week before. That's been his issue. You know, he starts out, he does okay, and then he falls apart. Well, he's showing now maybe he can bounce back, and that's big. So I think that the Vikings will win this game. I have them winning 28-17 and covering the point spread.
Well, there it is. Thursday Night Football. We'll cover this game on Friday's show. There's a lot to cover on Friday's show. Week 8, it's crazy. We're basically halfway through the season.
Almost.
We have 2 weeks, technically. After week 9, we'll be halfway through.
And the NFL's considering an 18th game now.
You need to have 2 byes. You need to have 2 bye weeks. You can't, and I think, why not create what the MLB has? Have an all-star break. Move the Pro Bowl to the middle of the season.
What are they going to do with it, though? I mean, are they going to play touch football or play badminton?
Dodgeball.
Yeah.
They're playing dodgeball, Pro Bowl games. There you go. Thursday Night Football, Rams, Vikings. I got the Rams. You got the Vikings. That'll be interesting. I think the trade deadline, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces. I do expect the Lions to make moves because I think they need one more pass.
Hassan Reddick.
Hassan Reddick's not a bad idea, although they finally got Reddick in the building. So they signed a short-term deal, at least currently. They're finally doing something with it. So who knows if he'll be moved, in a week from now. Who knows? I think we got to look at some of these teams. We might do a trade deadline topic when it comes down to it because it's coming up. Was it November 5th?
Might want to go back and talk about the Jets because they're proving to me what they thought, that they find a way to blow it again.
Not looking good for division winners.
Yeah, poor Aaron Rodgers sulking on the sideline.
Poor Aaron Rodgers. It's his team. It's the New York Rodgers.
Yeah. Well,
it falls all on him.
Yeah.
We'll talk about everything that has to do with Week 8 on Friday's show. But for this one, for this episode of the Harvey Hour, we appreciate all the support. My name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We are the hosts of the Harvey Hour. Catch us Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Night, Grandpa.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift